Imagine this. You're a janitor making minimum wage. You dropped out of school in fourth grade. Everyone says you'll never be anything more. But then you have an idea so bold that you decide to call the CEO of a billion-dollar company. Most people would say you're crazy. But what if that one phone call made you a millionaire? What if that janitor was you? This isn't a fairy tale. This is the true story of Richard, the man who went from mopping floors to inventing one of the most famous snacks in the world. And it all started with a bag of chips and the courage to dream big. Richard grew up poor in Southern California. His parents were Mexican immigrants who picked grapes in the fields. Life was really hard. Richard dropped out of school in fourth grade because he couldn't speak English well and he was embarrassed. The other kids laughed at him. Teachers didn't believe in him. And by the time he was a teenager, Richard thought maybe they were right. Maybe he was meant for a life of hard labor just like his parents. For years, Richard worked whatever jobs he could find. Construction, slaughterhouses, anything to feed his wife and children. But no matter how hard he worked, he could barely pay the bills. Then, in 1976, something happened. Richard got a job as a janitor at a Frito-Lay plant in California. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't his dream, but it was steady work. And Richard never took that for granted. While other janitors just did their job, Richard paid attention. He watched the workers. He studied how the chips were made. He noticed everything. And that's when he had a realization that would change his life. One day, Richard saw that some Cheetos came off the line without cheese powder on them. The company just threw them away. But Richard saw opportunity. He asked if he could take some home. That night, Richard and his wife started experimenting in their kitchen. Richard grew up eating elote. That's Mexican street corn covered in chili powder, lime, and cheese. He thought, what if we made Cheetos with these flavors? He grabbed chili powder from his kitchen and put it on those plain Cheetos. The taste was amazing. Richard knew he had something special. But here's where most people would stop. After all, he was just a janitor. Who would listen to him? But Richard was not most people. He had been underestimated his whole life. And he was tired of it. Richard did something that took real courage. He found the phone number of the CEO of PepsiCo, Roger Enrico, and he called him. A janitor calling the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company. When the secretary answered, Richard said with confidence, "Hello, I'm Richard from the Rancho Cucamonga plant, and I have an idea for a new product for the CEO." The CEO got on the phone, and he said, "I'll be visiting your plant in 2 weeks. Be ready to present your idea." There was just one problem. Richard had never given a presentation in his life. He didn't even own a tie. He had 2 weeks to figure out how to pitch to the most important person in the company. So Richard went to the library and read everything about marketing. He made sample bags at home. He practiced his pitch hundreds of times. His wife helped him buy a tie from a thrift store. And when that day came, Richard walked into that boardroom with his samples and his heart pounding. The executives were skeptical at first, but when they tasted those spicy Cheetos, everything changed. Roger Enrico smiled and said, "I want you to work with our team to develop this." In 1992, Flamin' Hot Cheetos hit the market. And it didn't just succeed, it exploded. It became one of Frito-Lay's best-selling products, making billions of dollars. Billions. From an idea that came from a janitor. Richard went from mopping floors to becoming a vice president at PepsiCo. He's now a motivational speaker, author, and entrepreneur. His story has inspired millions around the world. So what can we learn from Richard? It's simple. Your circumstances don't define your future. Richard could have spent his whole life believing what others said about him. That he wasn't smart enough, that he didn't speak English well enough, that janitors don't get to have million-dollar ideas. But Richard chose to believe something different. He chose to act. He chose courage over comfort. And he never gave up on himself. The next time you think your dreams are too big or that you are not qualified, remember the janitor who called the CEO. Remember that one bold action can change everything. Your breakthrough might be just one decision away. If Richard's story inspired you, then you're in the right place. Here at Inspire, we bring you real stories of real people who refused to give up. People who took risks and proved that your background doesn't determine your future. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another story that could change your life. We upload new animated motivation stories every week. Here's my challenge for you. Drop a comment right now and tell me one bold move you're going to make this week. It doesn't have to be calling a CEO. It could be starting that project you've been putting off, applying for that job, having that conversation. Whatever it is, commit to it in the comments. I read every single one. Remember, your breakthrough is closer than you think. You just have to be brave enough to take that first step. This is Inspire. See you in the next story.